Let's start with a crazy thought. Imagine a creator with millions of followers. She's wearing the absolute latest fashion, jet-setting across the globe, promoting luxury brands, and even replying to fans in the comments. Sounds like a typical influencer, right? Except, she's never taken a single breath. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving headfirst into a strange new reality. We're talking about AI influencers. These are totally digital personalities, dreamed up by human teams, powered entirely by artificial intelligence, and, get this, pulling in very real cash. It's a massive shift in how we consume media online, and we are going to unpack exactly how this whole thing works. And that brings us to the golden question. What actually happens when a computer becomes a celebrity? Because as these virtual creators explode in popularity, they're bringing up some absolutely fascinating and kind of difficult questions. Who is actually profiting behind the screen? And what in the world does this mean for the future of human creators who now have to compete with literal algorithms? This is the story of the fake people making real money. So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at this new kind of celebrity. Then we'll break down the business behind the avatars. After that, we'll explore why we're following the artificial, look at the human cost of all this, and finally, wrap up with the issue of trust in the age of AI. Let's get into it. Part 1. A new kind of celebrity. You know, for years, the whole currency of social media was authenticity. Or, well, at least the illusion of it, right? You hit follow because you vibe with a real person's life or their expertise. But AI completely flips that script. An AI influencer is a fully digital personality. Human creative teams use today's wild AI tools to generate ultra-realistic faces, synthesize convincing voices, and actually engage with people at scale. But here's the key thing to remember. Behind every single one of these fictional characters is a very real human team of designers, marketers, and writers pulling the strings. And this is a fundamental shift in the whole influencer economy. Think about it. Traditional influencers, they build their following on their perceived lifestyle, their actual personality, their human appeal. AI influencers play an entirely different game. They're driven by generated realism, incredibly calculated team-based storytelling, and this is the big one for advertisers, absolute 100% brand control. Which brings us to part 2, the business behind the avatars. Look, influencer marketing is a multi-billion-dollar machine. So why are mega brands suddenly obsessed with avatars? Simple. AI creators don't get tired. They never miss a deadline. They literally don't age. They're not going to suddenly move across the country, and every single post is meticulously planned. Campaigns can be tailored to incredibly precise audiences without the usual human hiccups. For a corporate advertiser, that kind of total predictability, it's basically a goldmine. Just compare the two side by side. When a brand hires human talent, availability is limited. We're human, right? We need to sleep. Image control is variable, and we naturally age. But AI? You're talking 24/7 availability, pixel-perfect image control that never changes, and instantaneous output. That level of absolute control is exactly why these digital avatars are landing major sponsorships, selling out merchandise, and signing massive global licensing deals. Moving on to part 3, following the artificial. Okay, so it's the elephant in the room, right? Why on earth would someone follow an artificial personality? If we know for a fact they aren't real, if we know they aren't actually eating that croissant in Paris, why do millions of people still smash the follow button and flood their comments every single day? Well, the answer is beautifully simple. We are hardwired for stories. It's not just about the flashy tech, it's about the narrative. People legitimately enjoy the creativity and the fantasy of it all. In most cases, followers are perfectly aware the account is totally fake, but they just suspend their disbelief, kind of like when you're reading a fantastic book or binging a great TV show. That emotional connection you feel, even if the character is pixels and code, the feeling is entirely genuine. And honestly, this phenomenon isn't actually new. Think about the timeline here. In the 20th century, we fell in love with fictional heroes on the movie screen. In the 80s, video games dropped us into imaginary worlds we spent hours exploring. By the 2000s, animated characters were massive pop culture icons. Virtual influencers? They're just the next logical step. They're just taking that same human desire for fiction and dropping it right into our daily social media feeds. The delivery is just way more intimate now. Part 4. The human cost. But we have to talk about the flip side of this. Consider the sheer scale of the competition happening right now. Human creative professionals are bound by physical realities. We have time constraints, we get tired, and we have standard production cycles.
But marketing teams armed with AI, they've got round-the-clock production, hyper-fast content generation, and infinite scalability. Real flesh and blood creators are suddenly going head-to-head with personalities that literally never sleep.
And this anxiety, it extends way beyond just influencers. Look at the industries asking, hey, is AI going to replace us? It's artists, designers, photographers, writers, voice actors, the list goes on. Marketing teams can pump out content at lightning speed now, so there's this massive, urgent debate echoing across all these creative fields. Is AI simply going to be a powerful assistant that levels up our work? Or is it a tidal wave that's going to permanently shrink opportunities and squeeze human workers out of the market? We're living through that answer right now.
Finally, part 5, trust in the age of AI.
Here's the big ethical dilemma. Should companies be forced to clearly disclose when an influencer is artificial? Right now, the technology is sprinting miles ahead of government regulations. Can the average person even tell if a creator is real anymore? As this AI-generated content gets so good that it's practically indistinguishable from reality, the question of transparency becomes absolutely critical. Just how much disclosure do platforms need to mandate to keep us from being totally deceived?
Because here is the core takeaway. The future of digital influence absolutely depends on balancing this insane innovation with some real accountability. As deepfakes and AI tools keep getting better and better, platforms and creators have got to figure out how to maintain audience trust. Because at the end of the day, without trust, the entire ecosystem completely collapses, no matter how mind-blowing the tech is. So, I want to leave you with this final thought. The next time you're scrolling through your feed and you double-tap a gorgeous travel photo or you're tempted to buy a product recommended by someone online, take a second and ask yourself, if you literally can't tell the difference between a real creator and a fake one, does it still matter to you? Thanks so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep questioning what you see, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.